I apologize. All right. Let me just my wipe here real quickly.
Okay. And I don't know if you want to use the video portion of what we're sending you.
Oh, well, I was asking Griff about that last week. If you send it to us, he could fold it in. It's kind of cool. But I don't know how it works.
Well, when you record on your side,
Oh, Richard on top, is that what you're
yeah,
showing? Okay.
yeah, and I don't know how to split that up. I think
That's
that you
fine.
can have all of them there, depending on how you are viewing.
So those arrests, Richard, were very interesting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I've been telling people since last autumn that they were here, and now everybody's surprised, but I'd covered that subject, and I'm afraid that that's tip of the iceberg. Let's put it that way.
That's what I was thinking. It just scratched the surface,
How do you like how that looks?
But those guys are good investigators. They know how to ask who knows who and who knows who.
They do, and this had been I had the sheriff, two council members, the police chief, two commissioners, and the district attorney all acknowledged that the Venezuelan gang was here. And but I didn't go into any details beyond that because I don't want to jeopardize an investigation or a prosecution. Right. So and to have that many agencies and that many people is remarkable. I mean, they had actually they had to use IRS and postal employees as part of the raid. They had so many people, and they pulled it off.
Give them a gun.
What's that?
They give them a gun.
Yeah, I mean,
that's scary.
Yep.
They do more damage with a pen anyway, so.
Well, there must have been something intriguing to motivate people to go to those parties.
Drugs are the most likely.
Drugs and women.
Yeah.
I mean, prostitution and drugs, alcohol, and just it would be like you and I being in college and we go to a just a regular bar, except these people can go there, and apparently you could just ask for whatever drug you wanted. You went into the restroom and you came out with pink cocaine or whatever.
What is that? What is pink cocaine?
It's not cocaine. It's my understanding. I've got it written down here somewhere. It's a combination of meth and a couple of other things that I think meth, fentanyl, a couple of other things, but it's not actually cocaine. But they had raided one in Adams County back in January, and I've got a feeling they're probably all over the place, probably Pueblo and a lot of other locations. But the good news is now they understand that they come to Colorado Springs and try doing this, that it's not going to work out.
Well, I thought I heard on the news that there were like 170 complaints about that location.
Yep. Pam Bondi said that yesterday morning on Fox.
Why did they wait so long to jump on it?
I think because they wanted to have a raid where they got certain people there, and they
wasn't there a shooting there
yeah, there was a shoot. Yeah. So the best I can figure is, and talking with a couple of people, former DAs, is that, yeah, they could have done something, a year ago when they had a couple of complaints about drug dealing in the parking lot or this or that, but they wanted to get all of the people behind it. And if they just gone out and raided somebody who did something illegal in the parking lot, then they just
and the
moved to
owner of the property was actually about to evict them because they were behind on their
yeah,
payments.
yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, well, the film clips were funny. Like the one girl that had the one arm in the air and she had a cell phone in the other hand.
Well, and there was somebody, chubby person, came out in like a fishnet outfit, and I honestly didn't know what I was looking at. I mean, I did not know if am I looking at a man? Am I looking at a woman? Is this somebody who is, transsexual? I just pretty much,
Identifies as a turkey.
yeah, exactly. I had not much of a clue
Oh my
whatsoever.
God. Crazy.
And the between you and me, one of the things that everybody is talking about is that the mayor was probably not told about this because they didn't believe that he could be trusted not to leak the information. So he probably was not told about the raid until it had already started. And
You know what? Mark asked that question yesterday because I wonder if they told the mayor.
well,
First thing when we heard about it.
right. Well,
Yeah.
and one of the things as well that I had not considered, but talking to somebody was, and it didn't necessarily have to be the mayor. It may have been that they did trust the mayor, that he would not do something like that, but somebody on his staff might. And there's a very, very, very liberal person on his staff that I think there would be a good chance if she knew, she would have leaked the information to somebody. Yeah.
Hmm.
But he's captain of the ship, and
Crazy.
it is amazing. I mean, you did, work with intelligence in the military and everything like that. I mean, the fact that you had 300 people from so many different agencies that were there, and for each person who was in the field, you had another 5 that were back at the office or whatever, and that nothing was leaked is pretty amazing, I think.
Really amazing. I mean, those guys, whoever was in that club was definitely outnumbered.
Yes.
So if there was going to be a shootout,
You know,
And there were plenty of guns inside. And I did talk to somebody who said they were pretty surprised that there had not been any gunplay or whatever you want to call it, which I think is good too. But yeah, they were scrambling like roaches when they started running out. And it was funny because I'm sure some of them thought they could just run away from this. And then all of a sudden, they got people pointing guns at them, and it turns out to be different. So
nice.
Oh,
Win for the right side.
yep. Well, and that's what I said it, but it's not like so profound that other people didn't either, and that is that's what I voted for.
Yeah.
All right, I got a clock here, and I'm good. David, it's good. Barb, you good?
I'm good.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority. That is Barb Schlinker. Barb is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is also a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, It is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just search Barb and you'll find her on most podcasts like iHeartRadio. Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market and one of people's largest assets, their home. So, Barb, what are we talking about today?
Well, Richard, I'm excited about the show today because we've got some topics that we've covered before, but we've got a completely different spin on them today. The first one is, should home buyers wait for mortgage rates and or prices to drop in 2025? And honestly, I think that would be a huge mistake. I think we're right at the edge of potentially, if the rates go down, the buyers are going to come out in force. So we'll go into some detail on that and just talk about a little bit about what the market's doing. And then the next topic is, how should a home seller prepare a house before selling a home? There are a lot of steps. As part of what we do every day is to get home sellers ready to go, because we know that the very first showing is online and it has to be the most impressive first out of the gate. Otherwise, you can't even motivate buyers to come and see your home. So we're going to deep dive into some of the steps that you should consider before selling your house. And then the third topic is, what are the expenses of selling a home? A lot of people ask me that. They kind of, most of the ones I speak to have never sold a home before. They have no idea what it's going to cost. It's not the same as buying a home. There are expenses on both sides, but the expenses of selling a home is something that you can kind of just do a quick calculation and get a good idea in your mind on how much you're going to put in your pocket when your home sells. And then the last topic is about how to tell if a realtor is good at selling homes in Colorado or not. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, we're heading into that spring selling season. The Fed seems uncertain about lowering interest rates while demand is lower than it was last year. So, what do you think will happen to the real estate market in the next coming months?
Well, Richard, all of the experts are saying that the rates are going to be fairly stable this year. They might improve a little bit towards the end of the year, is what the experts are saying right now. But a lot of people assume that if the Fed alters the interest rate either up or down, it's automatically going to translate to a change in mortgage rates. And that's not the case. What we've been seeing for the past probably 2+ months is that the mortgage rates have been relatively stable. That, every day during the week, they fluctuate throughout the day. It might go up an eighth, down an eighth, up and down, whatever the stock market is doing. Sometimes they react to that. But the bond market actually is more key than anything else. But at the end of the day, it's been hovering around 6.8 to 6.75 for a conventional loan, and the low sixes for the government loans like FHA, VA, that kind of thing. And what really surprised me today, I did a little searching around on my new favorite search engine, Grok. It's kind of fun. And I was trying to find out, what home buyers are perceiving about interest rates and what they expect to happen. And the big surprise to me is they came up with a huge number that said almost 80% of home buyers are just waiting for either rates to fall or prices to fall before they jump in, which is a huge mistake. And then 25% of those are really waiting for the rates to drop below 5%. But they may not know that you could save a little money, buy down your interest rate, at least temporarily or even permanently, and get a low interest rate right now. So if I were a buyer in this market, what I would be looking at is, where is the perfect house? Because in most cases, a homeowner can easily, with very low cost, refinance their loan if the rates do drop down into a more favorable rate. And if the rates drop down, what's going to happen if you have that many pent-up demand buyers waiting to jump on homes is you're going to see the prices go back up, and it's going to offset that little bit of change in rate. So that's why it's really important right now. If you put your home on the market, you absolutely want to be the best home for that area, for that price range. it is the way to get top dollar right now. And I was looking at interest rates today. They look very much the same, up and down just a tiny bit, but in general, conventional for a 30-year fix is sitting at 6.82, and then the VA and FHA loans for a 30-year loan are sitting in the low sixes, 6.22 and 6.24. And what the buyers should do really is just save some money, plan on buying down their rate if the payment's a little bit uncomfortable, and then be ready to refinance when the time is right. What we're seeing in general, as far as market statistics, indicates that new listing volume is up by about 28%. Yet over the last year, the average price has gone up by 4.8%. So here we are, the rates are high, but the prices are going higher, and the buyers are waiting for something that may not ever happen, especially if the rates drop. I think if the rates drop, the prices are going to go up. But because there is more inventory, right now on balance, there's about a 4 month supply. So it means that buyers have more choices, more homes to choose from. They're a little bit pickier, and you have to be priced what I call super realistically to motivate buyers to want to make an offer on your home. And it doesn't mean tank the price. It's just a small adjustment, and we know exactly how to do it to make it work for home sellers. And you have to keep in mind, back in 2018, the prices were much lower. We've seen a huge surge that happened over the boom that went up 35 to 40% in home values. That's more than double what we typically see in this market. And I really don't anticipate that it's going to drop down to where it was back in 2018. So what we'll see is a kind of a modest uptick in the buyer activity, because I think they're kind of getting over the fact that, okay, the rates are going to be in the sixes for now. Let's plan for it. Try to find a good, affordable home. And you could always refinance the home in order to, if the rates drop down to a rate that you like better. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And what we're talking about is whether or not buyers should keep waiting for mortgage rates to drop before buying a home. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some things of what home sellers should expect and need to do in these current market conditions. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We have well over 28,000 buyers in waiting just on our little website. Plus, we can typically match any home with about 800 buyers. That would be a really high match criteria for your home. And we show up with offers on your home. And we offer any seller a free in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get their house ready for sale, go over all the closing costs, and show you what you'll put in your pocket when it's time to sell. It's a free consultation, and you're never obligated to sell. Just give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're discussing the Fed's recent increase on the Fed borrowing rate and whether or not it has an effect on the housing market. So, what should home sellers expect and do in a market situation like this one?
Well, in general, bidding wars have pretty much ended, although I still have them because I coach the sellers on how to price the home very realistically so they don't have to wait 4 months for their home to sell. And it works very, very well, and they end up getting full market value anyhow. So I just closed a home this week in which the home seller priced it realistically. We had two offers, and we were able to sell the home for $25,000 over asking price. But in general, the key is you want to make sure that you're prepared before you go on the market, because buyers are much pickier than they have been in the past. According to the National Association of Realtors, more than 41% of buyers will reject a home if it needs work, and they reject it online. So you don't even know who's out there looking at the pictures, looking at the imagery in the few seconds that you have to make an impression, and they're going pass, moving on to the next one. So one of my colleagues called it like putting a home on the market is almost like online dating, which I think is really funny, but it's pretty true. And some buyers are going to wait for the rates to drop. But if you need to sell right now, it's still a good time. It's still a good market. Make the timing work for you. And you want to hire somebody that really presents your home in the right way all across the board. Because we know that buyers will not even go look at your house if there's a miss on marketing or pricing or possibly both. And I don't know, Richard, you and I have been around for a while. When I started in the real estate business, a few decades ago, they still had the paper MLS books, which I'm sure for the younger generation probably seems very antiquated. But I don't know if you remember that, but the realtors would pull out this big white, it looked like a phone book, and mostly there might have been one picture of the outside, maybe it was black and white, but most of the time there were no pictures. And actually at that time the agents had to know the inventory, but technology has completely upended our world, and so it's on the listing agent's shoulder to make sure that the home is presented on the market to attract the buyers to want to come see the home. And so we went from a typical buyer looking physically, going inside and looking at 40 to 60, 80 homes while they're trying to find their home, to now they may only physically go into 1 to 5 homes before they actually make an offer. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We can help you at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and she is your real estate voice. She's with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, the owner broker, in fact. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how should you prepare a home for sale here in Colorado. Stay tuned for that.
My colleague that said that in front of a client put selling the house is like online dating. He just started cracking up. He goes, well, I've never done that, but I could see that, I guess.
I remember a mortgage guy that used to call real estate agents the matchmakers.
Yeah, that's a pretty good term. But not anymore. That's the thing. They're all picking it on their own.
Richard had to step out to make a phone call.
Have you been up to Pikes Peak lately?
Not in several years.
Hmm.
Um,
'Cause
last time I was up there, they were just starting to pave that top portion.
oh, well, my family wants to go up there, but they're all flatlanders. I'm worried about them, you know.
I I think that a lot of people really enjoy the cog.
Mhm.
Um, it's a slower route, so if you're in any kind of hurry, I wouldn't recommend it. But the cog just kind of shows you the gives you a idea of the magnitude of Pikes Peak.
Yeah. Well, I'm just worried about them running out of oxygen. Last time I went up there, my brother lives in Florida. It was in October, and oh, he turned paper white.
Yeah,
He was not feeling good. Poor
yeah.
guy. So, but are there little like oxygen hits that you could take with you? Can't you get those at um the drugstore?
I've seen them both at the drugstore and at the REIs and those kinds of places. Um, I th- and I don't know which one's better. Um,
Mhm. I might have to stock up because they're going to be not feeling good. And then they have that store with the donuts at the top, and it's kind of hot and stuffy in there. It just, yeah,
yeah, it really depends on when you go to. And always keep in mind that it's at least 10 degrees cooler at the top
right.
compared to the bottom. But the cog tends to kind of ease them up the mountain.
Hmm.
That way it's not all happening at once. If you drive, it it's a little bit faster, of course. So,
I would think you'd have more chance of getting car sick driving, you know.
yep. And you have to be careful coming down about how much you use your brake and all that kind of stuff. You can really overheat the components there.
I signed up to do this video series of just cool things to do in neighborhoods and stuff like that. So, it's kind of cool. It's going to be a professional production and on there. It's called American Dream TV show.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to get out there and be a tourist. I've lived here all this time. I haven't been to the Royal Gorge. I haven't seen the Seven Falls thing.
Oh,
I haven't
wow.
been hiking that much.
Yeah, I've done all those things. Have you been to Cave of the Winds or
No,
the Cliff Dwellings?
no.
They, I've done the incline twice. Um,
You walked up there?
yeah, yeah, and I came down Bar Trail because I got vertigo really bad coming down the incline.
That's scary.
Yeah, so luckily they have a bunch of turnoffs, so you can go down Bar Trail coming back down, and that's what I should have chose to do initially. But
How long did it take you?
um, I think it was about an hour and 15 minutes going up.
Mhm.
And then coming back down was pretty quick. I jogged down, so
But it's like straight up, right?
yeah, yeah. It's a little over a mile straight up.
Mm.
We're talking about the incline.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's a
You like Bar Trail.
I do. And there was a time when I was in pretty good shape and, I did Bar Trail a lot. But even when I was in good shape, the incline is still
Yeah.
a pretty good go.
Oh, yeah.
It's a toughie.
Yeah.
That's good for my Marine son, maybe, but
Yes.
I
Yes.
can do it. I can do Pilates. That's okay.
I can remember the days that I could do. Although, I'm actually thinking about it. There were times I went there and I bailed out where he's talking about. Bar Trail comes right over, and I bailed out there a couple of times. And
Now they have two places where you can
do they?
kind
That's
of
wise.
duck out. And I ducked out at the first one coming down.
Right. So the higher one.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is when you're going up, you get this false summit. It looks like, oh, the summit's just right there. Wait,
Nope, here we
yeah.
go. Strap in. It's a
Yeah.
little bit more of a
A little
ride.
bit, yeah, a little bit.
Isn't it like 2,000 feet straight up?
I don't really know.
Um,
What, I'll tell you what is nice. There's a smaller one in Castle Rock
there is.
that is much.
I always
that
forget
one
about that one.
Yeah, that one is much more doable. I can do that one, and then what I'll do is do 3 or 4 of those. But once you get on the incline, but a lot of it's just bragging rights. I'm past bragging rights, I guess.
Yeah. I have a friend that would do that all the time. She's super fit. So where's is it at the Castle Rock?
It's called Miller Park, and on the south end of Castle Rock, there's Plum Creek. You get up there and go to the left, and it'll take you right to the park. It's very easy to find. I definitely recommend it. I mean, I love going up there.
That's where you get on the zip line too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great park for
Yeah.
everything. I mean, they have concerts there. They have a zip line there.
Sounds fun.
Cool.
I haven't heard
All
about
right.
it.
There's kind of a playground where
Yeah.
my kids used to
Yeah.
play. Yeah.
All right, I'm ready. I apologize for the little break there. My daughter needed something.
No worries.
I've got number 2 here ready to go. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the program. Now, Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations like on Zillow or their neighbor's asking price to try to determine what their home is worth. So how does a home seller decide what price to set when they're selling their home? And how do they know how much they'll put into their pockets when they do sell?
Well, Richard, selling a home is not quite as easy as taking a car to CarMax. You absolutely have to spend some time, plan out your selling strategy, and everybody kind of has a target in mind. A lot of people look at Zillow and go, "Oh, my house is worth this much, or this home sold for that much, so mine should." And it's a bigger picture than that. So it's really, really important when you prepare your home for sale that you first figure out what your selling strategy is going to be. I've had several people, in particular this year, that did nothing. They went as is and they still got their full asking price. And that's all about pricing it correctly. But it's really the number one question that we get from home sellers, besides what their home is worth, is how do you prepare the home for sale? What do you need to do? What do you not need to do to get it ready? And we know that buyers eliminate homes online, right? Most home sellers want the most money. But at the end of the day, it's the market that decides what a home will sell for. So that's why preparation is really, really critical. And you have to hire somebody that understands the market that can help you through the process. A lot of agents will tell their sellers, oh, look, that home is just like yours, sold for this much. Therefore, yours should do that. And unfortunately, it's just not working right now. You have to take a look at, excuse me, you have to take a look at the big picture, the trends, what's your current competition, and what homes are going under contract and which ones are not. And right now, we have longer days on market than what we've seen before. So because there's so many buyers sitting on the sidelines, not ready to make a move, and unless it's just an absolute screaming deal, they are waiting for the perfect house, essentially. So you could make it the perfect house. Now, I'm not saying when you get a house ready for sale, you have to do a full-on remodel. It really depends on the price range. As an example, I just helped a lady that inherited a home sell her home, and it was 60-year-old home. It's in good shape. It's been well maintained. Sorry. This home has been well maintained. However, it didn't need a full-on remodel. It just needed a really good staging and pricing strategy to command top dollar. So we helped them do that. We got it sold in the first weekend. We had multiple offers and actually sold for more than 4% over asking price. And so you basically, in most cases, want to position your home to be the most desirable home in the market, in that price range, in that area. So it starts with getting a plan. You need to find a local real estate agent that knows the market, that knows the market trends, that knows how to position the home to get a lot of interest on the home right away. Now, the market trends are very interesting because it's really surprising sometimes. I've seen some homes sit on the market for a long time, then all of a sudden somebody falls in love with it, and that's it. It's going to work out and it's going to go to the finish line. But you want to understand what the market conditions are doing and have the proper expectations about whether or not you may have to make a change once you go on the market if things aren't selling right out of the gate. So number one is to start your timeline of when you want to close. You work backwards from there at least a month and maybe a month and a week or two. And you kind of target that date to actually go on the market and start having buyers come through your house. The buyer activity actually typically peaks in the summertime, but we also often see it happening in the springtime as well because there's fewer homes to compete with and there's more buyer activity, especially in the Colorado Springs area. A lot of people in the springtime are looking for military moves, that kind of thing. So they're getting orders and they're looking in advance. It really depends on where you are. Places like Teller County is prime time in the summer because it's just so beautiful up there in the summertime. So you get more buyer activity at that time. So what are some things of what a home seller should be looking pretty hard at? One of them is flooring. So for me, usually the seller gets a really good return on their investment if they do some kind of improvement to flooring. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to pull out what you have and start over. It could just be if you have old tired carpet, maybe refresh that. That would be relatively inexpensive as compared to doing a full-on kitchen or bath remodel. As long as those spaces are in good shape, typically the buyer won't demand updating as long as the price is right. But you really need a professional to help you make those decisions. And what are the rooms you really care about? Number one is curb appeal. So buyers eliminate homes in less than 1 minute by looking at 5 or 6 pictures at the most of each house. And the first one is curb appeal. If they don't like the outside, sorry. If they don't like the outside, they're moving on in just a second or two. So you really want to focus on curb appeal, then the backyard, the view, then the living room, then the kitchen, then the master bathroom, and then the master bedroom in that order. And make sure you stack the photos in that order as well. Because if you bore a buyer with 15 outside pictures and they really care about the kitchen, your minute is already up by the time they get to the kitchen picture, and they're assuming that there is no kitchen picture, so they just move on. So buyers these days are very, very impatient. I had one home seller that did a great job of getting his home ready for sale, and he priced it right. We had a huge crowd at the open house that sold right away. I had another one, similar neighborhood, that did not want to do any updating. So all we did was a little bit of decluttering, but he priced it realistically enough to get multiple offers and get the home sold in his time frame at the price he wanted and needed with the least amount of hassle. So it depends on your situation, it depends on your strategy. You can't really expect to get the top of the similar sales if you haven't done updating, and they have. And we'll be able to actually show it to you with pictures when we come by. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about how to get your home ready for sale. And next up, we're going to talk about some of the key things that you should consider before you put your house on the market. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We have over 28,200 buyers just on our little website. And combine that with our marketing on other high-tech platforms, typically we can match any home with at least 800 buyers plus our cash buyers. So give us a call, 719-301-39. Dang, man. 3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And you can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms and Barb's own website, barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb Schlinker, if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, what are some of the other things to consider about the expenses of selling a house?
Oh, that question doesn't belong there.
Well, you know what? Because I got lost, quite honestly. I got lost, and that was the next break that came up, but there was a chart in front of it. And
Well, I misnumbered 1 and 2. So the third segment is about the expenses. So just ask the questions. What are some of the things that sellers should consider before putting their house on the market?
all right, you want to add it on to the other. So, Barb, what are some other expenses that sellers ought to think about before putting their house on the market?
Well, number one, you want to pick the right agent that helps you. Selling a home is not the same as going shopping to buy a home, but you really want somebody to help you make good decisions about pricing the home realistically versus optimistically. My experience is most home sellers want the most money, and if they want to try that first, that's fine. But if the market speaks back to you and tells you, hey, we're not getting very many showings, we're not getting any offers, and now we need to sell, then we know exactly how to make that adjustment to get you offers. We just did that with the house in Fountain, where they started high, it didn't work, and as soon as we made an adjustment, boom, we got an offer and it's under contract. So it's really, really important that you work with somebody that has pretty good recent sales activity, that has a good marketing strategy, and can help you price it right. But on the preparation front, one of the things that really hurts people is clutter. So the best way you can tell if you have clutter, I was working with a home seller the other day, and to the eye, this living room looked beautiful, but they had this big giant hutch that was sticking out in the room, and yet perpendicular to that was a beautiful fireplace with gorgeous woodwork in the mantle. And I said, to the eye, this looks pretty, but I took a picture of it. And because she asked me, should we move this big armoire that sticks out in the room? And I said, look at it on a photo. It looks fine in person, but on a photo, it just looks like a thumb where a finger should be. And she goes, oh, I get it. Okay. So sometimes that's the easiest way to figure out if you have too much clutter, is just to look at it yourself. And then depersonalize. So a lot of people assume that you have to take all of your family photos down. That's not really necessary, but don't fill a whole wall with your life story because it's distracting. And staging's absolutely critical, is to make sure that you're decluttering and staging enough to make the buyer visualize themselves in the home. Actually, home sellers will net as much as 5% more if they properly stage a home. So if you are thinking of making a move, we can help people do that. We include a free staging consult from an interior designer. Give us a call at 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com, and we can, if you're interested in selling, we can give you a free in-person consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale, give you a really good idea what price range your home will sell for, and go over all the costs so you know exactly what you'll put in your pocket when it sells. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. And if you're thinking of selling your home and you want to get the most amount of money, then call Barb at 719 301 3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to tell if a realtor is good at selling homes here in Colorado. You know what? I see
No,
what
that's
the
the
problem
next
is.
one. You're on the wrong segment.
Exactly. You know what? I
looking at the wrong number.
I know. There's two. That's why I got screwed up
There's two,
earlier.
three. So
Yeah.
I messed you up. It's my fault. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, that's okay. At least now I understand why I was so off the last time. And I had taken the one number 3 and I marked it as number 2, when in reality it is actually number 3. And this other number 3 was number 2. All right. So let me just get back to what I should have read, and I think we'll be good here. Because I kept looking up at the monitor and I saw what you had up, and I'm looking down at my notes and I'm like, this may. All right. So here are 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty on Your Real Estate Voice. She is your real estate voice. And if you're thinking of selling your home and want to get the most amount of money when you sell, call Barb at 719 301 3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be discussing what are the expenses of the sale of the house here in Colorado. Don't miss that. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry about that, guys.
That was me. I tried to correct the typo. I noticed it before I left today, but
okay. So let's see then. Let me get a different clock here. You know, I hate to say it, but if I screw up, David can always, he always takes care of me and my screw ups. All right. I'm good to go for the next one. You good, Barb?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and the host of the program. Now, Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations like on Zillow or their neighbor's asking price to determine what their home is worth. So how does a home seller decide what price to set when they're selling their home? And how do they know how much they will put, and how do they know how much they'll put in their pocket when it does sell?
Well, Richard, pricing a home correctly is absolutely critical, because it's not the seller, it's not the real estate agent that decides where a home is going to it's not the real estate agent that decides the price a home is going to sell for. It's actually the buyer making the offer that says, I love it, I want it, and this is how much I'm willing to pay. So, if you price a home correctly, it could mean the difference between a whole bunch of buyers clamoring for your house versus very, very few, and the home sitting on the market for a long time. And that's the worst case scenario, when you have a home that sits on the market a long, long time. So if you price it too high, the market's going to tell you pretty quickly if you didn't get it right, probably within 2 to 3 weeks. If you're not getting very many showings, if you're not getting any offers, there's something wrong. According to the National Association of Realtors, home sellers that price high and slowly, slowly, slowly walk the price down and get no results actually will put less money in their pocket. And so, yeah, that does work over time, but you're always better off when you're within the first 30 days on the market to be priced what I call realistically versus optimistically. And it's really hard to make decisions about pricing looking at those automated valuations like Zillow and Realtor.com. I think Realtor.com put their 3 automated valuations behind a paywall now. You have to pay to get it. But, also the tax assessor has one. There's other stuff in the MLS that uses an automated valuation. Even my cash offer platform has this automated valuation that it uses. And none of those are necessarily accurate. And it's mostly because they don't know anything about your house. They don't know if you've updated your house. They don't know if you have spectacular views. They don't know if you back to open space. They don't know any of these things that attract a buyer for value. And I've seen wide ranges in these automated valuations versus what the actual sales price was for the home, as much as $100,000. We recently helped somebody up off of Highway 83 sell their home, and they had priced it what I call very realistically. The similar sales were just over a million, between 1,050,000 and 1,200,000, but they didn't go for the highest number. They priced it 1,150. We had a bunch of people show up at the open house. We got multiple offers, and it still sold for 25,000 over asking price. That tells me the home is priced right. I've had some sellers go for the slightly low side of the comps to price their home, and that can really drive the prices up. That's one of my favorite strategies, to go on the low side of similar sales and get all the buyers fighting for your home, and they end up making their best offer in order to get you the most money. And that, of course, is market value. I had one recently that similar sales, I really thought the home was worth 675,000. The seller priced it under 650,000, had a huge crowd at the open house, and it sold for 700,000 in just 8 days, $50,000 over asking price. So the way that's done, first of all, is you have to look at similar sales, compare apples to apples, because that's what an appraiser does. And an appraiser has to, if the buyer's getting a loan, they have to substantiate to the lender that the home is worth what the buyer agreed to pay. But you also have to look at the competition, and what does the competition look like? You have to almost put your buyer hat on and go, oh, if I'm a buyer, I was looking for a home like this. This is what I can see what's available right now. And that's what we help home sellers do every single day. Plus, we'll sit down and actually go into all the detail about exactly what the costs are of selling. It's a lot more negotiable now, which makes it a lot of fun after the National Association of Realtors settlement. And we'll be able to talk about that in the next segment. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900, or you can go to barbhasthebuyers.com. And one of the things that we do is we sit down with you. We show you those similar sales. We show you your current competition. We show you our cash offers, and we will show you exactly how much you'll put in your pocket after it sells. But on balance, what most home sellers are going to be paying typically is at least the listing broker commission, title insurance, closing fees. They'll settle up property taxes. But typically, the biggest expense is paying off their mortgage if they have one. So we'll sit down and actually do a net sheet, give you a couple of scenarios so you can have a really good idea about what you're going to put in your pocket when it sells. But on balance, it's more negotiable than it ever was, and it actually makes it a lot more fun for me. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. And you can listen to replays of the show anytime you'd like on all of the major podcast platforms, plus Barb's website, barbhasthebuyers.com. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, what are some other things to consider about expenses when it comes to selling that house?
Well, let's go back to the commission thing, because I get that question all the time. What's your fee? Why do I have to pay the buyer's agent? Do I have to pay the buyer's agent? Why is the buyer asking for me to pay the buyer's closing cost? Don't I have my own closing cost? And basically, it really depends on how the house is positioned on the market in the first place. If you make your home the most desirable home, you're less likely to have buyers come in and go, okay, I want this home, but seller, I want you to pay my loan closing cost. I've seen numbers as high as 25,000, which is a huge number. I kind of had a lender on the carpet last week going, where is all this money coming from? It's like more than 4% of the sales price you're asking the seller to pay. And well, I did all these calculations. I'm like, yeah, but why is that a seller problem? I don't understand. So we were able to negotiate it so it worked out, but it wasn't a seller expense. And that's what you really, when you pick an agent, you really need to work with somebody that knows how to negotiate to get you the best situation for your home. So another thing that some people really worry about, which I find interesting, is back in 1998, they changed the laws about capital gains. And I think, if you don't sell a home very often, you don't really think about it. But before that time, if you sold a home and made a profit, you either had to take your proceeds and put it into your next home, and or you had to buy a more expensive home. Do you remember that rule, Richard?
I do. I mean, so much has changed, and it's one of the reasons I recommend you so highly, Barb. You stay on top of the very, very latest developments. Plus, you've been doing this for a couple of decades.
Yeah, but a lot of people are worried, like especially if they've paid off their house and they can see that they're going to net a good amount of money. They're in their mind, they're thinking, okay, you're telling me this is what I'm going to net, but you're not telling me that I have to pay taxes on that money. But actually, in most cases, if it's your primary residence, you should not have to pay taxes. If you are single, you can profit as much as 250,000 on the home tax free. Now, how do they calculate profit? What they do, it doesn't matter what you net in the house. What matters is what you sold the house for. You can take off all of your expenses, including the selling expenses, any improvements that you put into the house, and then also what you paid for the house. So if all those things tally up to more than that number, either 250,000 or 500,000, then the amount above that you would have to pay capital gains tax. And it's not a huge tax. It's not based on your income. But I've seen very high-end sales, and I'm thinking, wow, maybe they have to pay capital gain. Then they call their accountant, and they're like, nope, we don't have to pay capital gain. So it's kind of cool. I'll tell people, hey, you can take that money and go to Vegas if you want. You don't have to reinvest it in a home. Enjoy it, or you can reinvest it in a home. Whatever you want to do is fine. It's perfectly tax-free. That was a really good change to the tax code that actually promoted home ownership in the US, in my opinion. Now, the exception to that, of course, is if you are selling a rental property. First of all, there are federal and state taxes for selling a rental property. It can be somewhat complicated calculation depending on when you bought that rental property, because most people on the federal side will deduct they will deduct certain things. They call it depreciation every single year. Works out to be $8,000 to $10,000 a year. So that takes off of your what they call basis, and then on top of that, any you could take expenses off of that. But in general, people are probably going to have to pay some kind of capital gains if they sell a rental property. On and then we've got the state that charges you if you're an out-of-state investor. They will hold back on the sale 2%. And that 2%, they're basically hold it, and then you have to file your taxes with the state of Colorado to see if you owe taxes to the state of Colorado. That only applies if you don't live in Colorado. If you're an in-state real estate investor, you won't get charged with that. Another thing that people could do to avoid paying taxes on rental homes is something called a 1031 exchange, which are actually deferring taxes. And then another question I get all the time is about inherited homes. I tend to work with a lot of folks that inherit homes, and they're worried about, okay, I've inherited this house from mom. They've had it paid off for years and years. Do I have to pay taxes on the gain? But the fact is, you don't. As long as you didn't own the home and you just inherited it near the time when you're going to sell it, about when they passed away, they take the value that it was at the time they passed away, not when they paid 27 or 50,000 for the home 30 or 40 years ago. So typically you don't have to worry about paying taxes on inherited homes. But we'll sit down and we'll go over all that. If you are thinking of selling a property, that's part of what we do. You need to hire an agent that understands pricing, that understands expenses, that understands really what you're going to put in your pocket when it sells. And the other thing we offer on my YouTube channel, just go on YouTube and Google Barb Has the Buyers. You will find a series of videos called What to Do, What Not to Do to get your house ready for sale. And there's a lot of good information on there to help you make good decisions when it's time to sell. So give us a call if you're thinking of making a move at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker, your real estate voice. If you're thinking about selling your home and you want to get the most amount of money, visit barbhasthebuyers.com or give Barb a call at 719-301-3900. Remember, Barb is your real estate voice. You can listen every weekend. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to tell if a realtor is good at selling homes here in Colorado, plus Barb's hot new listings. You don't want to miss those.
Yeah, went a little long on that one.
No, you know what is, I got to just tell you, I don't know what you're doing different, but you have been just 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes, 12 minutes. This one was 13, but you, I mean, you're just on the money all the time.
Thank you. We'll be right back. I'm gonna step out.
Yeah. You are right. That is so much better. I mean,
Because I'm standing right here, I'm getting all kinds of glare off of my face.
yeah. So, I mean, I just either need to angle
Monitor.
the monitors or dim them down like we did the other day, but they need to be dimmed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
You are so smart.
Trial and error is all it is.
Richard, do you actually record your show live on Saturday, or is that like the best of?
I'm sorry, Barb, I was not hearing you. I had my headphones off.
That's okay. Do you record live on Saturday, or is it when it airs, is that a best of thing?
It's a best of. I keep thinking with everything that is going on in the world in the United States and stuff, I never can get everything in on my show. So I think I'm going to probably try to get to a point where I do like a podcast during the week, but it would serve as a podcast and then it would serve as new content on the weekend as well. But I will say it's kind of amazing. Most people don't have a chance to listen to the show every day.
That's true.
So there are a lot of times when people listen to that program on the weekend, and I come in on Monday and I got all these text messages because people are texting in about what I'm talking about,
Oh,
and
cool.
they don't realize that. I don't know. They must not do a best of thing on when they're doing the show. This is the best of Richard Randall or something, but no, it's pre-recorded.
That's good. I have difficulty sometimes managing my off hours schedule. It's like I have to just tell everybody, okay, like Sunday was Mark's birthday. I'm like, we're going to a Rockies game. I'm
Nice.
taking the day off. you know.
No, you know what? I can relate to that. People, you're in demand, and I'm surprised that you can even get away with, doing that. But I have, well, DJ is a hockey fan too, and my daughter's a huge hockey fan. I have been actually my son as well, and so the Avalanche are in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now, and I feel so stupid. A couple of years ago, they won the Stanley Cup. That's like the equivalent of the Super Bowl for hockey. And that season, I went to 2 games with my daughter and one with my son. But when they were making their run through the playoffs and everything, I was focused on all of this stuff, all of what's going on in the world in Colorado Springs and everything. I don't think I watched a complete game during the entire thing. And
Yeah.
championships just don't come along every now and then. So now I am making a point of taking time out, and we're not in the same place, but we have like a group chat on the phone where their mom is here, I'm here, Jason's here, Jenna's there, and we're all talking about that was a great goal. Oh my God, I can't believe they got a penalty on that, and it's fun. So
I love how
I guess
sports can bring you together.
it
like
can,
that.
yeah. And I guess I'm saying that because it just makes me happy that you and Mark have time, or you make time, that because that's what the point I was trying to get to. You have to make time to do these things, but I don't think you're ever going to look back, the two of you, and say, "Oh, you know what? We went to too many damn Rockies games. What the hell were we thinking?"
I don't, it doesn't, I mean, they've had a tough year so far, but it's still fun to go. It's a lot of fun.
It's a great park. I mean, I
Yeah.
wish and they make money because it is a great park and it's fun just to go. I wish it was more like the old days where they understood that it was fun to go there, but it was a lot more fun when you were winning.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
Okay. Let's see. I got a script. I am good to go here. I've gotten everybody way behind here. I apologize. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker. She's the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the program. Now, Barb, you know that for years I have recommended you and your team, but many people put very little planning or thought into picking a real estate agent to handle one of their largest assets, their home. Barb, how can home sellers tell if a realtor is good at selling homes in Colorado?
Well, Richard, not all real estate agents are the same. People assume that if an agent has a lot of years in the business, maybe they've got more expertise, but it's kind of misleading because right now the general stats are probably half the agents really don't sell any homes. It's just kind of a hobby business for them. And then the other half only sell maybe a handful of them throughout the year. So it's pretty easy to make a mistake when you select somebody. I was sitting down with a client the other night, and they were talking about the agent that they had when they bought the home, and we were just going over the contract because we got an offer, and they were just kind of shaking their head like, "Wow, we've never heard any of this stuff before," but they actually use that contract to buy a house. So, not everybody really sits down with them to explain what's going on. I think people really do want to be informed, and they want to make the right decision when it comes to who they're going to work with when it's time to either buy or sell. And I think in general, most home sellers really don't know what questions to ask a real estate agent. According to the National Association of Realtors, most home sellers actually only interview one agent. And that's okay if it's somebody that you know has good experience. There's a lot of really good agents out there. That's fine. But some people just pick them because they sold them the house, or they know them, or they were referred by someone else. But because of the low sales volume that goes on in the industry, they just don't know to ask those questions. Like, as an example, I looked at the March statistics for the Pikes Peak region. There were only 1,059 sales, including single family homes and townhomes. Yet there are more than 6,300 agents out there, right? So if you're interviewing an agent that doesn't sell very many homes, sometimes they will say things just to get the contract signed that might not serve you in the end. And I did some research on Grok and some of those websites to see what they say about it, not just what I say. And what Grok says, there's some red flags that you really got to watch out for when you select a real estate agent. First of all, if an agent comes in and goes, "Oh, I can get you, a number that seems really high to you," I would be very careful about that, because is that really true? How do they know that a buyer is willing to pay that much money? Now, they could make mistakes on pricing, but there are some agents that will just say, "Oh, I can get you so much money," and they know that it's not going to command that much money. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't happen. Then your house gets stale on the market. Then you slowly walk the price down and you net less money. It happened to a client of mine a couple years back. He called me, and he lived up in near the mountain area, which the summertime is prime time for selling. And he had his house on the market with this one agent that pretty much ghosted him the entire summer during the prime time, didn't talk to him about making a price change. The agent was the one that told him to price at that price. It wasn't working. There were very few showings. So finally, he broke up with that agent. He called me, and we sat down and looked at the price. We got it priced, just a small adjustment, really, and updated the marketing. And boom, we got a contract within 2 weeks. So it can be done right, or it could be a miserable experience. And the other thing you have to worry about is if an agent is part-time. Now, I run into this a lot when I'm working with an agent on the other side. I kind of notice that, they will bring an offer maybe on the weekend, but then I don't hear from them except for after 5:30 at night, sometimes 8 o'clock at night, Sunday night. Everything's a real estate emergency. "Oh my God, I forgot to schedule the inspection. Can you ask right now at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night?" And I have to set expectations for that kind of behavior. I have a whole inspection policy that I send to them to say, "All right, these are the rules. You need to plan ahead because the sellers need to know it's going to happen. They have to prepare for it, and you need to attend the inspection." So that particular agent, of course, did not attend the inspection. We had to attend for him. And, "Oh, I didn't know it took so long to drive down there." And, he was up in the north part of the county, and he didn't plan to go. That's what I think. He was just going to give the combo out to the unlicensed inspector and let him have at it. And then it's okay to hire a family and friend type agent if they are competent and they have some experience and expertise. And you want to make sure that agents are very transparent about what the costs are going to be. We always sit down, we actually show them the detail of what they can expect as far as sales price, what they can expect in terms of fees. So they have a really good idea what they're going to put in their pocket at the end of the day. And it's hard to price based on those automated numbers because they're very general in nature. And there are some agents just to get a little bit of business that will discount their fee, which, you know, commission is absolutely negotiable. But if they're going to discount their fee, I would be asking the question, okay, so what are you, tell me what you're going to do for that. We have these state forms that we are obligated to use. And in the state forms that sign up a seller to list a home in the open market, there is nothing in there about what they're going to do for their fee. Nothing at all. It doesn't talk about marketing. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It basically just talks about the relationship and how I'm going to work for you. That's all it basically says. So one of the services that we provide is we have a free report that you can get on my website, barbhasthebuyers.com. It's called the 10 questions to ask before you hire an agent, totally free, no obligation. You can go to barbhasthebuyers.com or call us at 719-301-3900. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how you can tell if a realtor is good for selling homes in Colorado or not. And next up, we're going to cover some really hard interview questions that I suggest you ask when you're talking to different agents to handle the sale of your home. Just give us a call if you want to make a move at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're talking about giving the audience information so they can find the best agent to sell their house. What are some things that a home seller should check and questions a home seller should be asking when they're hiring a real estate agent?
Well, it's a good idea to check their references, their reviews, their local expertise, maybe their past sales. Some websites like Zillow will really put all of their past sales on there that are driven through the multiple listing service. But here's some key questions that you might want to ask an agent, like how many buyers are you working with right now? How likely is your company to bring buyers through my house? And then are the buyers that are coming, are they qualified? You know, one of the things that happened in the industry, especially when the market got red hot, is the agents would connect with the buyer online, and the very first meeting with the buyer was at the house. They didn't know if they qualified to buy a home. They didn't even know what they were looking for. They almost use it as this marketing opportunity to get face to face with the buyer and maybe hope it works out. So, are they really vetting these buyers before they go and show a home? Because for most home sellers, it's rather inconvenient to get your house ready for sale and gather kids and dogs and get everything together. Also, a good question is if I feel like you're not doing a good job for me, can I cancel the contract? A lot of people, a lot of agents won't do that. They won't cancel the contract. But it's all about, according to what's in the actual state forms, if the agent did not perform according to the agreement, it does give the seller a right to cancel, but some agents will push back on that. And you don't want to feel stuck in a long-term contract. A lot of people think that they have to endure the whole contract, but if the agent is not performing, that's a good reason to get out. And we actually put an agreement in writing that actually outlines all the things that we provide that are our guarantees, our buyers in waiting guarantee, our honest promises guarantee, our communication guarantee, our home sale guarantee, our cancellation guarantee, and reality-based pricing and time frame. Those are guarantees that we put in writing. And if we don't perform, then you'll either get a discount or you can move on. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
I'm Richard Randall, and Barb Schlinker is the only agent that I recommend when you're thinking about I'm Richard Randall, and Barb Schlinker is the only agent that I recommend when you're thinking about making a move. You're listening to her on Your Real Estate Voice. She's the host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, every week you've got hot new listings. What do you have this week?
I do. I have a couple of properties that are owned by the VA that are fantastic deals. There's one on Beta Drive that needs a little work, but it's priced very realistically. There's one out in the country on Storybook. We've got one coming up that's really cool in Woodland Park. We've got a fantastic one at Briargate, a gorgeous one on Willamette on the west side that's been completely updated. We also have a fantastic property in Pueblo on Royal Troon, a gorgeous home on Beckham in Peyton. In the mid fives, we also have an amazing home featured this weekend in Broadmoor Bluffs at 684, 999, and plenty more. So if you want to find out about all of our properties, even our coming soon properties, give us a call at 719-301-3900, or you can go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
This is Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. And remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com and you can listen to the podcasts there or on all of the popular platforms like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thank you for listening this week. Reach out to Barb. Again, that number is 719-301-3900. Barb, have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Have a fabulous weekend.